What's up, guys? This is Jason from the We Wonder podcast here at NeurIPS 2019 in Vancouver, Canada. It's been a grueling week of AI and attending talks, going to receptions and meeting with all kind of different companies that are leaders in AI, from Google, Apple, Amazon, Uber, Waymo. Any I'm missing?
Everyone.
Everyone. Yeah. So it's been amazing. Oh, we had a long conversation with the head of Google X, which is like the advanced research group within Google. That was probably a highlight of the conversation.
Yeah.
Or the conference.
Jack is a great guy. He is just totally, what would you say, gregarious and like just a very
super
outgoing.
Super excited, super inspiring.
Yeah.
Super smart. I've actually got a video of that conversation, or at least part of that conversation. So I'd love to throw it up on YouTube, but I do want to just like reach out to him, make sure he's cool with me doing that. So if he says yes, we'll share it up on YouTube as well. And I'm joined by Alexei, friend and colleague.
Hey guys, yeah, it's been a really great week. It's good to see academia and industry coming together and sort of discussing all of these issues, from the academic side, from the industry side, and hopefully coming to common solutions, or at least common understanding, kind of level setting about AI in general.
Well said. Very diplomatic. All right, well, on the diplomacy side of things, we're going to talk about AI and ethics, and also fairness. I don't know if we can distinguish those things. So there have been several tracks focused on fairness and ethics, and there's been a fairness in medicine track. There's been an AI and ethics track, and there's been an AI for good track. Just really fascinating to see so much of this ramp up, and a lot of the people participating were not just computer scientists or AI practitioners. We saw sociologists, anthropologists, policymakers, lawyers. We even saw some people who were sort of the disaffected population, people who were maybe underdogs and struggling against the unintended consequences of what people maybe thought were good tools or maybe didn't care. So I just want to talk a little bit about that, and I'll just start with a story. Jacob Snow, who was at the conference, I don't know him personally, but he was a great speaker. He talked about what it's like to work at the ACLU. He's an attorney, and he talked about a situation where Congress was not taking action on facial recognition, and there were some police actions where they were using facial recognition databases to identify wanted people in the streets, and obviously that's a bit controversial. I'm not sure how I feel about it, like in the absolute. I'm not advocating that's inherently wrong, but I think it's something you have to be very careful about. And you have to be very deliberate about it. And so,
unless you live in other countries that don't concern themselves with such trivial matters,
right. If you live in a country that could just inject radiation directly into your body upon confirmation, right, or send you to the local embassy to be dealt with. Okay, so what was interesting was, John or Jacob and his team, they actually took the algorithms and they ran them across all the members of Congress. And they found that for some of the members of Congress, not only were they members of Congress, but they were wanted criminals.
That might be true, right?
Yeah. And unfortunately, it disproportionately affected African Americans. Right? The number of criminal African Americans in Congress was double the number of non-African American criminals. And it's not actually true, right? They weren't actually criminals. Maybe they were political criminals.
I know something you don't know.
Yeah, maybe they were criminals in the political sense.
I almost kind of consider all the political, or people in politics to be a little bit on the shady side.
Yeah. These people may have been corrupt in ways that have been not identified yet. But for the purposes of the study,
the AI knows.
For the purpose of this study, the key takeaway is this. The system was functioning poorly enough that it was mislabeling upstanding citizens as wanted men, and that would have unintended consequences. And hey, here's the kicker though: it was disproportionately affecting certain members of society, right? And so that's the big takeaway. Like that happened probably because there were not controls in place to make sure it didn't happen, and that caused Congress to act.
Okay.
And so it's a shame that it came down to theatrics that was needed.
And is that like even dangerous in another way? Let's say we let's say Congress says you can't use the system because it's not perfect, and then someone does come up with a perfect system. Does that does that make it valid to use the system, or is it still on the unethical side?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great discussion.
Right? Because it's like, regardless of how good the system is, maybe it's still not ethical to be able to use it. I don't know.
Should criminals have a sporting chance of
Yeah.
escaping? Just like, I mean, okay, so by translating this to the way that we do speeding tickets in the United States,
Right.
like in the United States, I mean, you have a sporting chance of speeding. It's not
Right.
automatically a ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like catch me if you can, right?
Yeah.
But in like Germany and other places in Europe, like they've got cameras set up, and if you speed through a camera, you're just caught. It's just what it is, right? So in some ways, if you argue against, having this system, there's obviously like legitimate reasons for arguing
Yeah.
against it, but you also are giving the criminals a sporting chance of like hiding.
And it's like, what level of criminal activity is good? Or I mean, it's kind of a trade-off between that and freedom, right? I mean, policing can be overdone,
Yeah,
and so that's also a danger. I mean, once there's one discussion that
we're gonna free the crap out of you.
well, yeah,
Take this freedom.
I think the worry is that once policing is in place, it's really hard to reverse.
Yeah.
So it's easier to sort of fight against it now and err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
Instead of implementing the systems now and then say, oh, now it's much harder to actually retract it.
Yeah, I think this is a fundamental situation, is that once you put the process and the tools in place, and you normalize society to having these things in place, then you can't guarantee that they won't be used by a bad actor or that they won't be used in ways that are unintended. I think that's fundamentally the question for AI as well, just in the broad sense, right? Even just basic technologies. On
that note, another aspect of ethics is that right now a lot of these systems, so AI, maybe I should step back a little bit and say that the current crop of AI requires a lot of data to train. So for example, Jason and I wouldn't be able to just start an AI company and start doing things without a lot of data to be accurate and to be able to compete in the business world. But the largest companies like Google and Facebook and others who have all this data, I mean, they're closed books. They're not, the data is not open. I mean, there are some open data sets that companies have released, but the overwhelmingly large data sets that these companies have are private, and so what they do with them is also a little bit unclear, and it can be dangerous, right? So maybe it's, again, not dangerous now. Maybe they're trying to do the right thing, but the right thing for whom, and the right thing, at what time, and
what is right?
You're letting these companies dictate or decide what's right, and then code it into the algorithms that will then govern and run society.
So one thing that came up, and I thought this was really interesting, is that ethics is a local phenomenon. I should say the definition of ethics is a local phenomenon. Your ethics are different than mine, and the ethics in Vancouver are different than the ethics in Riyadh, and that doesn't. And I don't want to make an absolute statement about what's right and wrong. What I want to say is that if you're building AI and you're trying to build it ethically, you're ultimately, you have to put tools and process in place to make sure that the AI is ethical, right? And that might be like something like, did you verify it against these populations, or did you consider all the ways in which it could be used for bad, or did you put controls in place? But ultimately, to do anything meaningfully, you have to move from this philosophical notion of ethics to an operational notion.
Yeah.
And that operational notion is a local definition, and that will create problems as well.
And there has to be sort of an explicit set of rules that dictate how we use the data to train the AI, right? Implicitly, the AI will just train on all the data you give it, which will implicitly also build in these rules that are really not ethical. I can't see why, or how they can just automatically be ethical. Like there has to be some governance in terms of how we use the data, what kind of data we use, and we can't apply the same. Let's say we train one AI on one set of data. Well, now these global companies will go around and apply it in different countries, and that may not be ethical either.
Yeah, but on the notion of data, if you are somebody who's sitting on a huge amount of data, call us and support our entrepreneurial dreams.
And be ethical.
And be ethical. We will be ethical with your data, and make money at the same time. So one thing that also came up was how do you be ethical in a business? How can you be ethical in a business environment? One thing that seems to make sense is setting up a review board But we heard from Bean Kim, who is leading ethics at Google, and she said that review boards don't get traction because they're viewed as adversarial, they're viewed as regulating. It also it squashes sort of the bottom up organic innovation and product creation. So ultimately, it seems like what you really need, and this is what she said, I agree, is you need good process, you need good validation and risk mitigation, and it's going to be imperfect. We're going to continue to stumble.
Yeah. But it feels like you do need some kind of a governing body and, with rotating members. I mean, kind of like what our, government is set up as, where you can't just sit there on the board the whole time and dictate your own ethics. But, But that, you can give individuals a chance to participate and to review and impact how AI is trained and how AI is implemented and put into the world.
Yeah, sure, if you want to squash innovation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the pushback from the industry, but I mean, unchecked, it seems like it's a very, very dangerous road.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that probably some hybrid is reasonable, but I thought about it personally because I was involved in ethics in my last job at Lockheed Martin, where I was a research scientist focused on AI, robotics, and cyber, and now as I drive strategy and program development at Stanley. So I think a lot about ethics and try to be a leader in that space. And a review board just seems to be the natural place that my mind has gone. But I've always struggled with how do you do that in a meaningful way, because no one really wants that. And it's also maybe after the fact to some degree. So maybe a hybrid of process validation, risk mitigation, and review. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. So Yoshua Bengio, who's one of the leaders in AI, one of the creators of sort of modern AI approaches, he made the statement that employees are beholden to their companies first, and that he felt like we need almost a society level change where employees were beholden to society at large and their community first, and even to the degree that employees would be potentially personally liable and personally held responsible for putting their company's interests ahead of their society. I struggle with that because I don't think that the low-level computer scientist or AI architect, should be held liable. But I mean, if you look at like World War II and the Nazis, I mean, obviously, like I was just following orders or just following senior management is not a great defense either.
Sure.
So what do you think about that, Alexei?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine line. At the end of the day, of course, everybody needs to make a living, and I mean, at the smallest scale, they worry about their families first, right? And being able to provide for children. And
you need the senior levels of management to be fully accountable.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't really like hold everybody, accountable, and well, plus you can't really manage that in a fair way.
Maybe you have to designate like shareholders, C-suite executives, and then like sort of the director levels.
Yeah.
Like maybe those are the levels in which you need to have something like that.
I mean, honestly, I don't know. Have you heard of B Corporation?
It's
the corporation that in the bylaws, instead of just being organized as a regular corporation to make profit, is focused on either social good or the environment, or basically something that's not directly tied to profit but to society or some kind of change that is impactful in a different way.
Yeah.
So they're not promising to make the biggest profit, but they're promising to be impactful.
Yeah.
And because it's in the bylaws, that's what they are actually, almost like legally held to.
So can you transfer that to all corporations? Because ultimately with AI,
well, I think that's what has to happen. Yeah. I mean, eventually there has to be something, maybe even in the bylaws, maybe AI becomes such a powerful tool that you have to, in some legal sense.
Yeah, do no evil in some agreed upon
But do no
way.
evil is too vague, right?
Yeah.
There's been plenty of evil done, I think, with the do no evil.
Don't do that much evil.
Yeah, just a little bit of evil.
Yeah. If you do evil, make sure that somewhere in the world somebody has defined it as good from an ethical perspective. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up on the ethics stuff. I think we'll make more of these shows. Some of them about the conference, and some of them about other topics going forward. We're testing the waters here. First YouTube recordings we've made under the We Wonder podcast brand, and with my friend Alexei. I just want to get it out there and see what kind of traction we get. See what people think.
Yeah, that's been a lot of fun, and looking forward to the next NeurIPS.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the next NeurIPS will be the biggest breakthrough, right?
The biggest breakthrough. Yeah, it's always
Autonomous
the biggest.
driving, like Elon Musk keeps promising us. It's just a few months away, or maybe a year away.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see what conference we go to next. I mean, I'm actually uncertain about whether this is where we'll be next year, but we'll definitely be at future conferences, and we'll definitely be at the forefronts of AI. And so wherever we are, if we're here together, we'll capture some videos.
Keep you updated.
All right. Take care, guys. Until next time.